She's one of the most successful millennial entrepreneurs of our time, with a business that catches your eye and your ear. Pinky Cole's Slutty Vegan restaurant became the talk of the town when meat lovers tried this vegan burger and they couldn't tell the difference. It was just that good. With lines stretching city blocks in the Edgewood neighborhood of Atlanta, the business grew to 14 locations all along the East Coast. But things went left, and last month Pinky announced she lost the business. But guess what? She brought it back. Pinky Cole Hayes joining me now to talk more about the comeback story of Slutty Vegan 2.0. Girl, the internet is buzzing. They said, hold on, wait a minute. We saw the social media video announcing that Slutty Vegan had a new owner. Swipe, swipe, swipe. You got to read. It's you.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
Well, first of all, that just made me emotional, you even reading that, because it has been a journey, to say the least. On February 13th, my company went into a global restructure, and that meant that I didn't own the company. And funny enough, people thought that I was lying when I said it publicly. But we went through so many changes, just like normal businesses do when they grow too fast. They have some challenges with talent and just the nature of the business. And I had to do what was required. It was very difficult. It was very hard. But I didn't own my company for 43 days. And then on March 28th, I bought my company back, and now I own it free and clear.
So making sure that people understand what a global restructure means, it kind of goes into almost like a trust, and someone else is running it sort of behind the scenes. But during that time period, you were never letting your foot off the gas.
No, let me tell you something crazy. So the company went into an assignment for benefit of the creditors, right? So it's not a bankruptcy, I want to be very clear, but it's where the company goes into an estate to pay off the debt for the company. So while we still make a lot of money, we still do well, our debt was just too high for what we could encounter. And when I came back in the company January 2024, it was just like it was too late. I tried everything. Personally, I tapped into my personal finances to be able to save the business, and it was really too much, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. And when I surrendered, the estate took over, and then in that meantime, I was still going to the stores, still showing up. Not owning the company, but still making sure that the store was running properly, doing what it needed to do. And that was hard, right? Like still saving something that no longer belongs to you. But then the company went up for sale, and I put the bid in, and there were some other bidders, and I won the bid. And I'm so glad that I did, because now I'm focused on Slutty Vegan 2.0.
And so a lot of entrepreneurs, we know Atlanta is a city of growing entrepreneurs. You sort of want to use this as a teaching moment for them. So we got to talk the real raw of how a business once valued at $100 million gets here. Did it just happen too fast? Did you not know what was going on?
Well, we did a lot of really great things. You got to look at the resume, right? Like, we've opened up 14 locations. We've had really great partnerships. We've made a lot of really, really good revenue over the years. But when a startup is growing without a blueprint, right, and you have talent that may not have the capacity to take you where you need to go, there's overspending. There is getting things that we don't need for the business. There's software that we're not ready for the business. So the intention may have been good, right? But the reality of it is things like this happen in businesses, and most people aren't honest about it. And I wanted to publicly talk about this so that entrepreneurs can look at me as a cautionary tale and say, you know what? I got to make sure that I have the right financial advisors. I have to have the right investors. I got to have the right board. I have to have the right talent. And when you have those right people, it's a recipe for success. And I want them to know that, like, you can get through it. And the hardest times in businesses, people go through it all the time. Amazon went through hard times. All the biggest companies you can think of. And Slutty Vegan is no different. So I'm taking the lessons that I learned from 1.0 and I'm applying it to 2.0 now that I'm back in the business and I'm back involved.
And so with that, you may have a lot of people, you know, Slutty Vegan went from mom and pops to major corporation very, very fast. When you think about starting, you know, you got some family, you got some friends, and maybe, you know, when you get that big, you realize, like, wait a minute, who really knows what we're doing now that we've reached this level? So what does it look like? Because you got rid of everybody.
Let me tell you, when you are growing a company, as the company elevates, the talent got to elevate with it, right? There was a point in my business where I'm like, all right, this business is too big for me. I got to put people in place because I don't know what to do anymore because the business is beyond me. You got to find people that have the level of expertise that you don't. They have the acumen, the resume, the experience to be able to do what it is that's required to take the business to the next level. And I didn't necessarily always have that. I had a lot of people with heart and soul, but I didn't have the experience that I needed to take the business to the next level. So now I'm super intentional about how I do that. I've hired a headhunter. I have some really, really good talent that I just brought on the company. We have some really, really big announcements, and 2.0 is going to be even bigger and better. And I'm just blessed that I have an opportunity to get a second chance because most people don't get this second chance, and I got it.
A lot of people may be confused to say, wait a minute, if she was so far in debt, how would you get enough money to buy your own company back? How were you able to do that?
Well, my name is Pinky Cole.
And there it is.
I mean, you know, like Slutty Vegan is the vessel for me to do all the other things, but I still am a brand. I'm a philanthropist. I'm an author. And I am personally, I'm financially well. Right? So I'm able to take on the business so that I can restructure it and restart it over and make it even bigger and better. And I'm excited about that.
And to be clear, it wasn't that Slutty Vegan wasn't bringing in enough money. It was just too much was going out.
Yes, and Slutty Vegan makes a lot of money.
Right.
Even through the restructure, even today, week to week, we do double-digit millions every year. But you can do double-digit millions all day long. 2023, my corporate overhead was $10 million. So even though the green is coming in, at the end of the day, it was red. So you can make a lot of money and pass through millions, but if you're not mindful of the spending, then none of it really matters. You know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that feel like their top line is good, but your top line could be good all day, every day. But when you look up under the hood, the operations got to be just as strong, because if it's not, then you'll get in a situation where you have to restructure your business.
How is Slutty Vegan 2.0 stopping the bleeding?
Well, Slutty Vegan 2.0 has a clean balance sheet. So no debt. And I'm excited about that because it's an opportunity to start over. Like, I literally went to Clark Atlanta and Harvard University at the same time. And I've learned so many lessons about business that I'm applying to 2.0. So I have new potential partnerships. I have new business relationships. I have new talent coming in, people who know what I did not know. And then my hands are back on the wheel. And you feel the difference when you look at how I'm growing the business now. You see me in my business. You see me growing it in real time. And I'm just doing it in the most authentic way ever. And it feels right in my spirit. And I'm happy to be back.
Did you feel like becoming a mom, you didn't have a choice but to take your hands off?
You know, it's funny, and I'll be totally transparent with you because you're a mom, you get it. I had 3 kids, right? One in 2021, one in 22, and one in 2023. And then I got married. So I put people in position to be able to run the company so that I can be a mom and a wife and the face of the brand. And do I regret my kids? Absolutely not. But now they are my reason to go harder, to work even harder to the goal. And I'm not going to give up until I get what it is that I want.
And so with that, when you talk about, you know, the restructuring and kind of just having the right people in place, what would be your best piece of advice for entrepreneurs as they, you know, navigate this space and say, like, whoa, I looked at some of the comments on some of your previous interviews. People are like, nobody has ever been this honest about that.
Yeah.
What were your biggest L's that you turned into lessons here?
Do not cut corners on your talent. You know, back in the day, I used to like, all right, well, maybe if I shave this off. And if you cut corners, you want people to go in with the right mindset, happy to be there, and with the expertise and the acumen. And if you cut corners on the most important pieces, you're going to feel it on the back end. I want to be able to sleep 3 more hours a night. And I can sleep 3 more hours a night when I got the right people in place. So it's important to not cut corners on the talent. Hire you a headhunter so that they can find the people to help you grow your company, and have a $1 billion mindset. But that $1 billion mindset also has to come with the mindset of being frugal, making sure that you're strategic and you have strategic partnerships around you so that they can help you understand how to build the business, especially if you got a business where you are crafting a lane of your own. I'm in the vegan space, so it's not many of us in this space. So I'm a fourth runner, and I'm a leader in the space. So it's important for me to make sure that I have the right accountability partners around me, and entrepreneurs should also have that too.
Speaking of being in the vegan lane, you know, people are talking about, you know, tariffs and taxes and the cost of everything going up. Slutty Vegan is you. Do you think that that is sustainable, or are you looking at ways to rebrand or restructure in that fashion with the cost connected to buying a vegan burger?
You know, it's interesting because we've been talking about this with my team. I am doing a revamp from the top to the bottom. So that's from our packaging to our menu to our food products, the ingredients, and really making plant-based more affordable. Like, you know, I was in Spelman College and there was an instance where, you know, the prices were too high, but I'm making vegan food affordable all over again. And you'll see that in 2.0. And I'm intentional about that this time especially, but that requires me getting new menu items, right? So there'll be more plant-based options like cauliflower. You know what I mean? Mushrooms, things that people can appreciate that aren't as expensive as Impossible or Beyond Meat. And I love them and I still use them on my menu, but I also want to have range so people can appreciate it.
Exactly. Now, speaking of that, during this global restructure, when you were not the owner of the business, here at 11 Alive, we reported that Spelman College and the AUC, which you are an alum, you know, voted to have Slutty Vegan removed. But did you know about that? How did this come to be?
It's funny because I looked on the internet and I saw it the same time everybody else did. I didn't own the company when they did that. And I actually didn't do that. The estate actually sent an email to Spelman and let them know that we were leaving in 3 days. And that's what was told to me. So when I saw the news that we got voted out, my estate said that obviously that wasn't the truth. However, I love Spelman, and I wasn't involved in that process, so I didn't want to leave Spelman. I love to stay there, right? And Spelman has done great things for me and my business, and it's just unfortunate the way that it happened because I had to hear about it in real time just like everybody else. But again, I didn't own the business, so there was nothing that I could do. But I would love to do work with Spelman in the future, and you know, who knows? Maybe something else can come around in the future or in the AUC, and I'm excited about that.
So that was truly an aspect of you not owning the company.
I didn't own the company.
Decisions were made, you know, kind of without.
I would have never closed Spelman, ever. I would have changed the prices.
You kind of would have, worked through it, right?
I would have fixed it. You know, this is the AUC. I went to CAU.
And so yesterday I saw you put up a post, and it seems like this post was filled with a lot of emotion. And I want to give you the opportunity to talk about it in connection to a story that we ran, but we never put your voice to this story. There were, you know, lawsuits with employees claiming, you know, not paid or, you know, tips being taken from them. And you celebrated yesterday making payroll for Slutty Vegan 2.0. Talk about that aspect of business, because I think a lot of people, you know, were like, well, that should always be the case, but behind the scenes, that's a big deal, and you said it was a big deal for you.
So I'll be totally transparent because that's the only way that I can be. My payroll was $78,000. And I was able to pay that without investors. That is a big deal for somebody who just bought their company back with 130 employees, right? Especially given the history of what took place when I wasn't running my business. And at the end of the day, it's my name on it, so I gotta eat it, whether it's my fault or not, right? So to be able to come to 2.0 and have a first payroll, you know, the odds were already stacked against me, right? You know, fighting the powers that be and then getting my company back and then losing powerful relationships and friendships, and then to come back strong and say, hey, I did it and I've been able to pay my payroll. And that just shows me that this is only the beginning, because my source got me and I don't have to beg, borrow, or steal to be able to get the things that I want. And I can make sure that the people that I'm responsible for that work for me will be taken care of in 2.0.
You talked a lot about your source, because in the process of all of this, you also almost lost your life. Let's talk about that before we wrap.
I was driving on the highway, 70 miles an hour, and I got hit by a mattress dead on 75 South in Atlanta. And it felt like Final Destination. And for the first time, I was not on the phone and I was not texting. And I was just thinking, it was just so much pollution in my mind. I was thinking about, what do I need to do? Is this the right move to buy my business back? What's going to happen? What's the backlash? And I was just thinking about all of these things. And next thing I know, a king mattress just hit me dead on. And I stopped in the middle of the highway and my life flashed before my eyes. But what it did is it put so many things into perspective, because here I am stressing about a business, stressing about what's the press going to say and what's the perception and how people are going to perceive me, and I almost didn't make it. So now I have a newfound sense of how I live my life professionally, right? And not taking myself too serious and being super vulnerable and transparent, because there's going to be somebody that's watching this and feel like I can change their life just because they saw what Pinky had to go through. So I live my life totally different. there is no chip on my shoulder, and I'm just so glad that 2.0 is giving me the opportunity to thank him in everything that I do, and be able to grow my company bigger and better than it's ever been, and I'm excited about that.
And we are excited to see what the future holds, and we know what that means for Atlanta and our local economy. You know, we thank you for pouring into that and just all that you do for the community and even through your philanthropy. 2.0, let's go.
2.0,
Let's go. All right.
I'm ready.
She back. She back. All right, Pinky Cole Hayes, we thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.